Okay, so today on the podcast, we bring to you none other than Monique Jeter. Monique holds a master's degree in technology management from Georgetown University and a bachelor's degree in mass communications from Norfolk State University. She serves on the advising committee for Rise Up Technology staffing, providing television and film production consultation services in Washington, D.C. She also lives with her husband and her son. Monique is committed to creating media that motivates, educates, and invokes positive action within audiences around the globe. Just last year, she premiered her new series of documentaries, starting with the Hello 40 series. Now she was working on bringing to the big screen Hello 30s. I actually got to meet Monique. We met each other, crazy story, but we met each other at a restaurant on Mother's Day, and she was with her husband and I was with my girlfriend, and we just had an amazing conversation. And so I'm hoping that we can continue that conversation here. But like I said, we bring to you none other than Monique Jeter. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. And yes, we will continue our conversation.
Of course. So, Monique, I just want to dive straight into it. And I'll give the audience a quick little backstory. So, it Easter Sunday, right? Easter Sunday, we met at a brunch spot in Washington, D.C., up in Georgetown. And I think you were sitting with your husband and your kid, and I was sitting with my girlfriend, Amanda.
Yeah.
And I don't know how a conversation started, but we just started talking. And your husband was doing IT recruiting, similar to what Amanda's doing. And, you said you had a media company and you were directing films. And right off the back, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I want to hear about this. I really, really want to hear about, like, what are you doing? What are you creating? And I asked you those questions, and you said that you just released a documentary called Hello 40s. And that's what I want to talk about today. And you're also saying how I want to work on the Hello 30s and I want to work on the Hello 20s. And I just thought that was an amazing idea because, like, hindsight 2020, there's so much knowledge you can give to the next person about coming up through what you've went through, right? And what you've seen, right? And I think it's so powerful how you have really are just turning this thing into a platform where other people can learn from. So I think that's amazing, Monique.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So let me just ask you right off the bat, what is the Hello series and how did this idea come about?
Okay, well, I'll start with the Hello 40s documentary. So because that is the breakout project. The Hello 40s documentary is about that aha moment we have all had, those of us who are in our 40s, that aha moment we have all had in our 40s. This came about because I had just had my son. I'm in my 40s. My son is 10 years old. I had just had my son. I transitioned from media to information technology because I have a passion for television and film, and that's all I used to do. But the minute I found out we were expecting, I looked at my husband and I was just like, we're going to have to do something. He didn't say it. He knew not to say it, but I was just like, oh, we're going to have to do something because things were inconsistent on my end financially. And it was okay when I was a wife and I was my responsibility as well as Dwayne is my responsibility. But bringing a child in this world, I was like, I have to make some changes financially. So I transitioned into IT. I was in grad school, decided to go. I'm going to try to keep it short, but it's layered. So I decided to go to Georgetown to obtain a master's in information technology, focusing on project management. And it was such a tough experience for me, to be perfectly honest, because my core, like, I did not want to do IT. I just simply didn't want to do it. I wanted to continue to work in media. But I would be on production sets for 12 to 15 hours. And I would work 3 straight months, and then I would have maybe a month and a half off because there were no productions in production.
Yeah.
So I decided to make that transition, and it was tough for me. So I made a promise to myself, and I said, the minute I graduate, I am going to get back into production on my own terms because I know things are different now. I have a child. I no longer want to be on set for 10 to 15 hour days. So I made a promise to myself. I said, the minute I graduate, I'm going to produce a show. So I produced a show and I started blogging, things like that. But I knew it was something bigger, right? So I started blogging, I produced a show, and then I said to myself, I was still having this moment like, what am I doing? It's not enough. I was giving back, I was providing a platform for all of my friends who are entrepreneurs and do what they love, but I still felt like it, as I'm still not like even scratching the surface of why I'm here. So
Yeah.
I prayed on it so heavily. I prayed on it. And then I was just like, my 40s have been tough. I know I'm not the only one who is having a tough time right now. So that I started talking to my friends and I was like, how are things for you? You know, these are my challenges. Are you feeling the same? And every single person, of course, our circumstances are different, but everyone was just like, I have had several aha moments and I'm having one a day. And it's just like, it spiraled this whole, and that's how the idea came about because I
Wow.
was having a challenging time. And I was just like, I know I'm not the only one. Let me talk to some friends, colleagues. And I was just like, a light bulb went off. Hello 40s. Because I feel like when I came into my 40s, really because of my son, that I truly came into my own. So that's how Hello 40s was born, the Hello 40s documentary. So I started featuring people on a blog, and then I just wanted to take it to a different level. I was like, the masses need to hear and see this. Let me produce a documentary and submit it to some of the finest film festivals out there. And that's how it was born. And then I was like, I'm in my 40s, but what about my little sister in her 30s and those who are in their 20s? I know they're having some aha moments. And even though I've had them also, but my aha moments in my 40s were just more profound because of my son. But then I was just like, oh, this is a whole movement. We're going to do Hello 30s, 20s, Hello Teens. We're going to bring it back and do Hello 50s. Every milestone we're going to eventually produce.
And so I was doing
Yeah.
some research and I saw that the Hello 40s premiered last year, and I believe it was at the Alamo Theater, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So Monique,
Beautiful theater.
that's right by where we both live, because I know you live in
Yeah.
over here in Brooklyn. That's right down, that's a
Yes.
couple minutes down the road. I would
Yes.
have loved to known you last year and been able to be a part of that. But what was that like being in a beautiful theater and seeing your film, displayed for everybody to watch it?
It was a beautiful experience. But to be honest, I was so stressed out that I did not enjoy it. I took on more than I should have, but I had no choice and I don't regret it. It was a
Hmm.
beautiful experience, but it also made me realize I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Hmm.
I mean, I did everything from the seating placements, and the night before I didn't sleep, I was printing out cards, making sure my
Wow.
family, when they came in, because they've been so supportive, my family and friends, I wanted them to feel like this was a Hollywood premiere. And it was beautiful. God like literally worked everything out for me, but
Hmm.
it made me say, I want more of this.
That
Yeah.
is so
And
amazing. That is
that's a
that's
beautiful
amazing.
theater too.
Very beautiful. Very
Yeah.
beautiful. So like going more granular, right? What are some of those? Well, let me ask you this. How long did that creative process take for you to actually from I have the vision to now it's at the Alamo Theater being played? How long was that creative process?
Well, I would say about 3 years, but it was because
Wow.
of COVID. We had a large delay, because of COVID. I
Yeah.
started shooting before COVID, but then when everyone we were dealing with that, we didn't know what to do, and I didn't feel comfortable shooting anymore. So I would just we took we took a step back for a minute. So it took about 3 years. If we didn't have COVID, if we weren't dealing with that, I would have said it probably would have taken about a year, but it
Hmm.
took about 3 years. But honestly, probably longer because all of the work that I had done previously, like the blog and things like that, that already like my wheels were just turning. So there were some things creatively that I was just able to like knock out because
Hmm.
I had produce this blog. So my mindset was already like, just make sure that you leave an impact. So,
Hmm. And so during that creative process, Monique, what were some things that you knew you had to include in the Hello 40s? Like, what did you want people specifically to take away from this? You know, what were some of those aha moments that you talked about that you really wanted to like push across the screen?
I wanted people to be inspired, and not only inspired, motivated. You know, so many, and my cast was diverse, and I did that for a reason, because I wanted anyone to be able to look at my documentary and see themselves.
Hmm.
So the characters, their stories were tremendously layered. So even if they did not look like you, I guarantee something that they've gone through, you've possibly gone through as well. We feature 4 people, but that's the most thing. I wanted people to walk away motivated. And that at the end of like we have footage from the red carpet at our premiere, and that's what people were saying. They were just like, so many dreams have laid dormant because I was scared for whatever reason. And they were just like, I am about to go hard. I'm about to knock these goals out. And
Hmm.
that just warmed, I'm very emotional anyway. So that warmed my heart to know that people left motivated. Like they left better than they did when they arrived.
Hmm. Hmm. That's gotta feel good. That's purpose right there.
Yeah.
Monique,
Yeah.
in your own life, you know, what has been a difference between, say, your 40s compared to your 30s compared to your 20s? You know, what has been the difference of those chapters, right? When you talk about Hello, creating Hello 40s, and now you want to create Hello 30s, Hello 20s. What do you think is the biggest difference between each of those documentaries?
Well, I would say is layered. The biggest difference for me in my 40s, I
Mm-hmm.
would say, is that I know myself so much more than I did in my 20s and 30s, of course, right? Um, I know myself and I know my worth, which a lot of us, we say we do, but we really don't, because we deal with certain things, you know. And so I would say I know who I am. And I'm still
Mm-hmm.
learning every day, but for me in my 40s, I know who I am and I've accepted myself. Like I provide grace, all of that, but I know who I am. But in terms of what I would say, 20s compared to 30s and 40s on the documentary spectrum, I would say I think that I'll be able to look at when I produce Hello 20s, that I'll even be able to look at a 20-year-old and learn from them.
Hmm.
So Hello 20s is not only going to be for 20 somethings. Hello 30s is not only for 30 somethings. We can all learn from one another. So
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing that I want to make sure that people understand. Just because someone is younger than you, just because someone is older than you, does not mean you cannot learn from them. Wisdom comes in all shapes, sizes, and forms.
Amen. That's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to talk about, since I feel like we're talking about age, right? And I feel like in a lot of our lives, there's a lot of moments where we feel like we should be in a certain place when we reach a certain age, right? And so, for example, you look at a 20-year-old, they might say, by the time I turn 25, I want to be a millionaire, right? Or, you know, for a 30-year-old, it's, you know, right when I turn 31, I want to have kids and a husband, right? Or
Mhm.
for a 40-year-old, it's like, I want to be financially independent. I want to be in control of all of my finances.
Mhm.
But I feel like it's never that simple, right? And I'm sure you've dealt with this, and I've dealt with this. Is like you have goals tied to age, right? How do you deal with that, Monique? Of like feeling like you should be somewhere, maybe it's the world telling you should be there. Like, how do you run your own race? That's something that I want to learn about.
I think for me, well, I know for me that it's literally truly understanding that I am where I'm supposed to be.
Mm,
If you don't, and that comes with putting in work. Like there is not well, I have a 10-year-old, so maybe today, I don't know if I'm going to work. This is for me, it's good work. But we're speaking about Hello 30. So you have to look at things like that. Like, so you have to strategize. You definitely have to strategize and know that you're where you're supposed to be. But again, going back to initially where I started, that you're not going to feel like you're where you're supposed to be if you have not determined your goals. So you don't, what for me, what has worked is me saying where I want to be and then breaking it down. How am I going to get there? and literally putting in work. So when I have days like today, I have to work on a project with my son. So he's my priority. But I know what I need to do tomorrow, or I know what small thing I can do today that's going to make my task for the week a little, it's going to give it a little more ease. But knowing that you're where you're supposed to be, and then if you may not know where you're supposed to be, then you have to pray hard on it. But yeah, you don't just set a goal and hope it falls out of the sky and say, oh, I'll get there. You have to set a plan. You set a plan, and then that's how you get through those tough days. You're like, okay, maybe this was a tough week, maybe this was a tough month, but you look back at your list and you're like, okay, this is what I need to do, and give yourself grace. How am I doing with my plan? Did I do what I said I was going to do? But if you don't create a plan, you're never going to feel like you're where you're supposed to be.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I feel like I feel like we all have passions, right? And we all have gifts that God has given us, right? And I feel like what's unique about, people like yourself, Monique, is that like you use that gift and you put it into film for the world to see, right? Whereas I might be doing podcasting, another person might be doing artwork, right? But it's all kind of how they're expressing their passion and their gift, right? And I feel like at the same time, there's stuff that we face that throws us off that course, right? That throws us off having that creative spirit, right? It's almost like there's opposition trying to like stop us from bringing out this goodness of what we have, right? And I'm sure you've dealt with it as being a mother, which I want to talk about too. But like, I guess like, because you said, when you had a kid, you kind of had to divert a little bit, right? And so the question I have for you is just how do you make sure you're staying course, right? When it might not make sense financially, you have a lot of, there might be other single moms listening to this. I know you're not a single mom, but there might be single moms listening to this where it feels like they can't do what they love, right? What would your advice be for people like that?
Ooh, how much time do you have?
We have as much time as you want.
I would say you first, when you have a child, everybody parents differently. Everyone parents different. I have friends who have children who do not mind being on a set for 15, 17, 18 hours a day, right? So you literally have to run your own race. Your circumstance is unlike anyone else's circumstance. You have to know, if you have a child that God has blessed you with this little human being, you're responsible for. However, God still wants you to be happy. So you have to look at yourself and find a happy medium. If you feel like you cannot find it, pray harder than you have ever prayed, and pray on your knees. No, for me, I want to tell you a quick story. Dwayne and I were going to move to LA. Literally, we were going to plan to move to LA in June. June meaning next month. I used to work in LA. I was there for 8 months before Donovan was born. And I was just like, we need to move. And Dwayne was all for it. But then I pulled out of it because I had to say to myself, I know what kind of mom I want to be. And if I were to make that move, when Donovan hits 19, 20, not even him being happy with the choice that I made, I know that I would not have been happy with the choices that I would have had to made had we went on with that decision to move to LA, because I would not have been as present as I want to be. So I had to look at my situation and say, what kind of mom you want to be? What can you do with the parameters within your life? So that's why for me, I literally had to say, producing one documentary a year through my company, I was just like, is that enough for you? Is that going to fulfill you while you're working your 9 to 5 at the same time? And I'm just like having this conversation with myself. It is, because me being able to go on field trips with my son, he has a field trip tomorrow, me being able to go on field trips with him. And at the same time, if I want, I can have my laptop there working on how I want to break a story down, or whatever I need to work on. So I just had to look at myself and constantly tell myself, this is your race. Don't put barriers. Don't put barriers that do not need to be there, like unrealistic time restraints, things like that. God gave you a gift. It's up to us to bring that to fruition. If he sees you're doing everything that you can humanly possibly do, things are going to work out. But you have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself grace, and then actually also structure. You have to provide some structure for yourself. So today, Ivory, when we finish our podcast, I need to plan for the week. How am I going to maneuver this week to make sure I have time for Donovan, for Dwayne, but to make sure that I have time for Donovan, to make sure that I am working on Hello 30s throughout the week, to make sure that I'm fulfilling my 9 to 5 request, and also to make sure that my husband is good. Sometimes I just look at him, I'm like, you good? Or we just do this. Like, okay. But you have to be strategic, but you also have to give yourself grace. But yeah, like after we finish today, Ivory, actually, I have to run to the store to get some things for Donovan for a project tomorrow that I forgot about. And I gave myself grace. I'm just like, Monique, you're doing a lot. You forgot about it. Luckily, Dwayne caught it. So now I know I need to run to the store, but I'm also going to strategize to make sure I handle everything today so my week can go as smooth as possible. But yeah, you have to run your own race. No one's race is as yours is.
That is so powerful. That was really insightful, Monique. I appreciate that. I'm taking that in and applying that to my life. One thing that I want to talk about, and there's so much depth to probably what you can speak on, right? And we can go all different types of places. But I did want to talk about you working your 9 to 5 while also working on your real passion, which is media, which is film, right? And I'll give you a broad question. It's just, what's your mindset just overall about 9 to 5 and working a part-time side hustle? You know, how does Monique perceive that? Yeah.
The Monique today knows that she has to do what she has to do so I can finance my own dreams. The Monique before I produced my documentary was not happy with working a 9 to 5. I felt like I was a sellout. I felt like, how dare you not pursue your passion full time? How dare you be scared to do it? Perspective is everything though, right? So the film business is expensive. I don't care how you put it. Even if I take my iPhone, it's, it depends on the caliber of work you're looking for. But for me personally, I know that it's important for me to be able to fund my own projects. So for me, it's perspective. I have to look at it and say, I'm going to produce a documentary every single year until it's picked up. I know eventually I'll be able to transition and run my production company full time, but you have to look at yourself and say, like, what kind of creator do I want to be? You have to be honest with yourself. Some people are okay with being a struggling artist. I was actually okay before I had my son. I didn't care. I didn't care who you were. If you called me to work on your production, I was there, and I was probably there before you. But it's like, as you mature, as I have matured, and literally when my son, because of him, I'm just like, so the struggling artist route, that's not my route. That's just simply not for me. You have to know yourself. And I'm just like, I want to be able to put money into my own productions. Some people say you need to make sure that you find investors. My thing with that is that if you're not investing in your work, in your productions, in your product financially, then you allow others to come in and possibly take creative control. So you have to know yourself. You have to know your limitations, what you want, short term and long term. So for me, like, the overarching word is perspective. So the Monique today, I am like, I will clock into my 9 to 5, and I've been blessed with a really good situation. I work from home. I may have to go in once or twice a week, but no, perspective is everything, but you have to know yourself. You have to know yourself. Yeah.
There's a lot of, I want to pivot real quick. There's a lot of people listen to this podcast and into Think Gold and what we created here, and they're aspiring professionals, right? There's a lot of younger people like myself that are kind of get into a position to where you can be at, Monique. We're still going through those processes, but I get a lot of people talking about the IT field, right? What is some things that you benefited from working in IT, and why should the next person jump into IT?
The IT field has changed my life. I
Mm,
honestly, I know that sounds cliche, but it really has. I have never made as much money as I currently make. And I mean, you say IT, some people look at it as technical. I don't have a technical position. I'm a software trainer. But it's changed my life, and it's one of the best things. Like, I went reluctantly into the field because I didn't have a choice, but I'm very happy that I did, because even my responsibilities in my 9 to 5 are helping me and have helped me with my business.
mm,
So I say to those people, it's like, even if you're not technical, don't shy away from the IT field. And it
mm,
is so wonderful because there's so many different avenues you can take. If you consider yourself a techie, great, then you can go that route. You can go into coding, you can go into cybersecurity, so many different routes. But if you're not, don't worry, because my husband thinks I'm technical, but I know I'm not. I just know how to do what I need to do to get where I need to get.
hey, there's levels to it all, right?
Yes, yes, yes. But I would say definitely, like, the IT field truly has changed my life
Mm,
financially. And it's
yeah.
able to, and again, back to perspective, I'm able to fund my own productions. Like, my
Mm,
next Hello 30s, I'm funding it on my own. I may end up not needing to, but I will be able to. And that's through me having a lucrative career in information technology.
I like that
Yeah,
lucrative career in information technology. And when you do fund your own business, right, and you get the fruit from what you sowed, right, that's all your fruit, right? You're not giving fruit to anybody else but yourself and your family. So that's a big key right there that a lot of people overlook.
absolutely.
That's a big key
Hmm.
right there.
Absolutely.
Um, so with that being said, talking about your 9 to 5 and talking about your side hustle right there, I'd be remiss to ask you, and for the audience, is how do you know when to leave? Or how do you know when to pivot into, fully into your side hustle? Maybe not only financially, but maybe more so speak to the mental aspect of it.
So, when I just said that I am not dreading working. Well, I don't work tomorrow because of the field trip, but I am not dreading working Tuesday. When you dread going to work, then you need to check in with yourself.
Mm,
Because no one deserves, I don't care how much money, I don't care if you're making $275,000 a year, 300,000 a year. If you dread doing it, it is not worth it.
mm,
So that's when all money is not good money. So,
mm,
so I would definitely say, if you dread doing anything, just don't do it. And if you currently have a job where you're dreading on Sundays, you get stressed out. You feel yourself going into like slight depression, or we have to be very careful with that. That is not the avenue for you. And this is when you have to truly know yourself. Okay. So
mm,
I feel like the right time to pivot, like Dwayne thinks the right time for me to pivot is now. That's my husband, right? He thinks it's now, but I know that it's not.
mm,
I know how I want to set myself up. I made a promise to myself that every year I'm going to produce a documentary. Like, I have big plans for this hello movement, right? I'm not going to say I'm not going to be able to do that, but I want to position myself how I want to position myself. So I
mm,
have a plan. That is my plan. I want to put my money into it because this is my baby. God gave me this vision. I don't want anyone else trying to take creative control, right? So I know
mhm,
what I need to do. But I would say it's a feeling. If you are dreading going to your 9 to 5, and that doesn't even mean that you should pivot and go into entrepreneurship full time. That just means that, like, I'm so blessed to be where I am in terms of the people I work with on my 9 to 5. Like, I work with a beautiful group of people. But if you do not look forward to doing what you do 9 to 5, don't do it. Maybe you need to pivot to another 9 to 5 or something that is better with your personality type, maybe something that's not as strenuous. But I would say you have to truly know yourself. And if you don't know yourself right now, that is okay too. Pray harder than you have ever prayed and be as specific as you can.
That's wisdom right there. That's wisdom, Monique. You dropping some gems on this podcast. Dropping some gems. Dang. Wow, this is hello 20s times hello 40s right now. We meet in the middle. This is crazy.
Right.
So I have a couple more questions here. And this
I can talk to you forever, Ivory.
I know, right? I don't want to drag it too long because I want to be respectful of your time. But when we first talked on the phone, you said, "Oh, I can talk about a lot of topics. I can talk about importance of having the right mate." So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, right? We don't got to spend a whole bunch of time on it, but just overall, kind of, and maybe speak to the younger person, right, a little bit, right? When we have these purpose and we have passions and we have gifts that we want to bring out, right? How should we go about finding the right partner, right? And then also had a little subtopic is like, do you want someone that is also that same way? Like, do they have to be that same go-getter, passionate? They need to be more supportive. Like, how do we perceive that?
First, you don't try to find the right person. It is organic. It literally just happens. I met Dwayne at a gas station. On my way to work, we have different versions of this story. But he approached me first, but I met him at a gas station. So you're not going to make anything happen. If it's the right thing, it's going to happen organically. That is the first thing. But your mate is so important for so many different levels. But since we're speaking of career, there was a time where Dwayne did not get what I do. He didn't understand it. I moved to LA before my son was here. We were married for, we argue about this too, but we were married at the time for about 3 months. But I had told him previously that I was going to move to LA. This was my dream. And he was like, okay. We have different versions of this story also. Okay. I told him I was leaving. I left. He was in Maryland. I went to LA. And it was a tough time. I was there for 8 months, happiest time of my life. I was just like, you need to get it together. But it was the happiest time of my life. And he was not supportive because he did not know how to be supportive, right? This was like 12 years ago. He was also 12 years younger. So I moved back home. And the more I worked on my passion and that he saw that I was not letting up, that he saw I would work a 12-hour shift and get up the next morning excited to go on set, he eventually got it. And he was just like, because he didn't understand, he was like, you are so smart, you can make so much money. And at the time, I was probably making $200 a day for 12 hours a day.
Work, yeah.
Hours a day. Yeah. That's pennies, right? But he was just like, you are so smart. Why are you doing this? You need to do this. You need to do that. And I was just like, this is what I need to do. So when I constantly did it, eventually he was just like, oh, this is what she's supposed to do. Like, I clearly see this passion in her. And then, so over time, he had no choice because it almost did create a wedge in our marriage because he did not understand the level. He understood my passion because he's an entrepreneur, but he didn't understand that I had to do what I had to do for that little, that small amount of money. But eventually he knew that I had to do it. So you have to, and I always tell him the me today, it would never work. Because if I were to meet someone today and I had that same struggle, but I'm in my 40s, but I had that same struggle and someone did not understand my passion, I'm not trying to help you understand it. See you later, right? We were, I was in my late 20s, he was in his early 30s. So he didn't know how to understand. So what kept us together is that he is an entrepreneur. He is an entrepreneur, and that's why he eventually saw the only difference was the finances in terms of what we did. My passion was just as strong as his. My need to do what I was doing was just as strong as his. So he ultimately did get it, But I would say to the person in your 20s or 30s, if somebody does not truly understand, and you know this deep down inside, we know it, don't lie to yourself. Do not lie to yourself. If someone truly does not understand and respect what you love to do, take it for face value. You take it for face value. Now, I'm not saying if you're in a relationship today that you break up with a person, but that's when I would really employ your faith even more. You have to be honest with yourself, though. But so eventually he came around because he was younger and, you know, we grew up together. But I would say don't lie to yourself. You know when something is not right. You know when someone doesn't truly get your vision, your grind. And you don't have time to try to help them figure it out. Yeah.
Wow.
But you did ask me something else. What was the other thing? Was that everything?
No, that was so basically it was just, you know, the mindset that younger people have to have when they have a purpose and a passion and looking for a significant other, right? And you said, number one, it happens organically. First of all, you say you check me, you say you don't look, right? It comes to, and I'm in an amazing relationship, and that's literally what you said. It's the truth. So, and I feel like not even your significant other though, right? It's like even family members too, right? Your own mom, your sisters, and I look at it from, it's like it comes to a point where you can no longer tell somebody your dreams and aspirations. You just have to show them. Like,
yes.
That's the only way that people will really understand is if you do it. Just do it, right?
Because it's not for them to understand. It is
Amen.
not for them to understand.
Amen. So we were talking the other day, Monique, and I put down a hashtag be easy. And I forgot why I put that down. Can you why do you think I put that down?
Because I probably sent it to you. I saw it. I was just like, well, hey, there you go. Literally, like that is one of my missions. Things sometimes are not that serious. We put so much stress on ourselves. We put these unrealistic timelines, unrealistic and not unrealistic goals, but again, your timeline to get there. Sometimes you literally have to just be easy. I'm also an actress, and I was meeting the lead actress maybe 2 weeks ago. You never know what people are going through also, but she was just like a little frazzled, and she was just like, I want, because we were meeting to do media, you know, some social media clips, and she was just like, I wasn't sure what we needed to do, and I was just like, let's be easy. Let's just be easy. And we ended up having such a good time. We were able to produce so much content. And it's because we took the edge off of it. Like even this conversation we're having is not an interview, it's a conversation. Like try your best. And I've had to tell myself this also, try your best to take that edge, whatever that edge is different. Like that's subjective, right? It's different for all of us. Take it off and be easy. It doesn't mean you don't care. It just means that you're going to be so much more effective and productive if you take the edge off. Look, just be easy, baby.
Be easy. Be easy, baby.
Be
yeah,
easy.
I like that. All right, Monique. So last portion of the podcast called the deep end, right? It's some fill in the blank questions. Ready?
Yes.
I am nothing without
my faith.
My greatest joy is
my baby boy.
This world needs
you. We can have a whole conversation about that, but you.
Our greatest battle is
that right there, inclusion.
Inclusion. Can you explain that?
Absolutely. It goes back to Hello 40s. Every documentary that I produce, it must be diverse, right? Inclusivity is so underestimated. If we allow people into our lives who not only look like us, but look completely different, we would learn so much. And I feel like so many of us, and me growing up in Washington, D.C., that's Chocolate City. It used to just be Chocolate City, right? But as I have moved up in the workforce and in business, I know the importance of having conversations with people who look completely different than me, because you learn so much from them. There are things that people did not know about African American women, or just women in general, mothers, someone who goes through my battles, and you're not going to know unless you have a conversation with me. So that's why inclusion is so important. We are so much more alike than not. We have to remember that. So this right here, it's truly, like, it's literally my makeup, right? And I'm proud of it. But if I don't speak to people who look completely different than me, I am not allowing myself to grow.
Wow. Wow, that's big time right there. That's big time. That's something different that I haven't heard on the podcast when I asked that question. That's huge right there, Monique. Any last words you'd like to leave the audience with? I know you just dropped the gem right there, but is there any last words that you wanted to leave the audience with?
I want to go back to one of your questions. You just, I think it was the third one you said, and I said you said,
this world needs, and you said you.
This world needs you. It goes back to inclusion for me again. I think if we all understand our value and our beauty, that we would all be better off. Like, you truly have to understand that you were built, designed to do whatever you want to do. Like, your wildest dreams, that's how we'll take it out. Believe that your wildest dreams are attainable. There's nothing. Like, if you want to go to the French Riviera, believe you can make it happen. And once you truly start believing it, if you have a 9-to-5 and you want to move up in your career, but you don't know how you're going to become a director, you don't see yourself in that light. First, you have to see yourself in that light. So believe you can do it. Believe you can achieve anything, and put yourself on a pedestal. Oh, I can talk all day to you. Put yourself on a pedestal. That's what we'll end with.
But that right there is the Think Gold model in a nutshell. Like, you're someone who embodies, like, Think Gold. Like, you're striving for.
Thank you.
Like, I want to give you your flowers because you're striving for, like you only have one life. Like, I feel like you know that. Like, you know in your soul that, like, this is your opportunity. Like, this is your moment. You're gonna make the most out of it. So when it's, as morbid as it seems, like, I think about, like, death all the time, and the fact that, like, I got to make the most of this life, right? And it's like, when you do that, you realize just how every day is a gem. Like, every day is a gift. And when you realize that you only have one life, it's like God wanted you to do something special. Like, whatever you believe, whatever you can literally think in your brain, it can happen. Like, if you want to build the Eiffel Tower, you believe in your mind that, like, you believe that, and you'll find ways to connect yourself with a builder who just built a similar building like the Eiffel Tower. And that's how crazy the universe is. It's like, that's why I like how you said, like, you actually have to be it, right? Like, you have a vision, right? Monique, I want to go to the, what is it? The Oscars, the Grammys, is the Oscars? The Oscars, right? I want to go to the Oscars. Like, I want to be that type of director, right? And then you start, before you even get that Oscars, you feel like you already won it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel like every day, like, you just have that trophy in your hands. Now, all of a sudden, you go into a networking event, you meet with Will Smith's brother. Will Smith's brother's like, come over here, come talk to, you know what I'm saying? And it's, I don't know how to explain all the ways that the universe works like that, but it's different. It's different. So
it is. You have to believe, though. And again, that's another one. It sounds so cliche, but it's real. Like, if you don't believe, if I didn't consider myself a filmmaker, even before I was a filmmaker, Hello 40s would have never happened. The Hello documentaries wouldn't be in the midst of happening. We would not be in pre-production. So I have to see myself in a certain light before Ivory is going to see me in a certain light. So I called myself a filmmaker way before I produced Hello 40s. See, we started talking again. I can talk to you all day long. But you have to believe, but that's what I mean about that pedestal. You have to put and some people say, no, you should be modest. That's another conversation. Yes, you want to have a certain level of modesty. However, if you want to believe the unachievable that the you yesterday thought you could not achieve, you have to put yourself on a pedestal. And don't even worry about anybody else knocking you down. You can't knock yourself down because we are our worst critics. So you put yourself on that pedestal and do not allow yourself to knock you down. Because if you won't allow yourself to knock you down, no one else has a chance. No one else has a chance.
Gold bars right there. That's gold. That's gold bars right there. Okay, Monique, where can people reach you? Where's the best way to like show support and to see like what you're doing and how to stay in contact with you?
Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation because a few months ago, someone hacked my social media. So I'm rebuilding. So everything happens for a reason. So my business IG is Mo Media Films.
Mo Media Films. Okay. That's
MOMEDIA Films. So that's my business IG. And then Facebook, I used to have a tremendous amount of friends on Facebook. I think I maybe have about 70 now, so I'm rebuilding. But Monique Jeter Holly. Monique Jeter Holly. Monique Jeter Holly. That is my full name. Yes. And my website is momediaent.com. So momediaent.com. Yes.
Got it. Well, Monique, thanks for joining us today. It was a pleasure.
Yes,
you're amazing and you're going to do amazing things. And this was a dope conversation that people are going to benefit from hearing. So thank you so much, Monique.
I appreciate you. Thank you as well, Ivory.